Hello, I'm Shieldwall100 and welcome to another of my quick critiques. This time I'm going to be taking a look even at the Black Friday releases from 2021 from Night Models. 3 models particularly here. It's supposed to be following a bit more shortly on the heels of the Mr. Freeze quick critique, but I just didn't really get a chance. Some real life things started happening and so slight delay, but here we are now. Okay, so we've got 3 models here. We've got Alfred, Death Metal Batman and Bane Unleashed. I'm going to have a quick look at the models and these rules for these models in just a second now. So without further ado, let's get on in there. Well, here we are with our first candidate for today. This is Death Metal Batman, aka the Bruce Wayne Batman from the Death Metal series of comics, which followed on Dark Knight's Metal, I think. And it's a solid offering, I think. I think this it's a great pose, doing his best Wild Stallions. Bruce Wayne here. Didn't even know he could play the guitar, but why not? I think this version of Bruce Wayne is so needing to be powered up due to all the things that the Batman Who Laughs has done, that he actually has a Black Lantern ring on at this point. So yeah, and some of his rules will bear that out later on, but let's look at that pose and look at the detail. He's got the chains, his rock out boots and all. Everything's really, really nice on this one. It went together like a dream. I do remember that. No problem at all. Hang on, just see if I can get... Yeah, details are lovely on this guy. Even got some extra trim on the cloak as well, and some studs as well. So yeah, proper rocking out. I love it. Really do. And skulls and bones and things, because, you know, death metal, I guess. Right, well, let's have a look at his rules. So this is a Black Friday exclusive model, so obviously what we're hoping for is something a bit different and not actually totally broken and essential, because sort of limited release. Oh, and before we get into it, yes, the rules I've got are pretty awful in terms of their presentation. I'm sorry about that. Any chew marks you can see and smudges are purely down to one of my cats deciding that they were going to start playing with them whilst I was working. And unfortunately I've run out of ink in my printer, so I couldn't get duplicates done, so I have to go with this. So here we are. Batman Death Metal. He's a leader for the Batman crew, of course, so he's still a good guy despite being an evil rock and roller, Christians. He's worth 150 reps, so he's up there with the slightly more expensive end of the Batman scale. You know, out of all of him and all the other Bruce Waynes, he is the one who is this is a relatively expensive jobber. Okay, right, his stats are very Batman. Trust me, his endurance is 8. Bloody cats. But yeah, willpower and endurance 8, attack and defense 5, standard Batman stats, 3+ strength, 10 movement, and 3. Yeah, so Bruce Wayne hasn't changed his physicality for this particular one. His weaponry, he actually has an electric guitar, which is his melee double stun weapon. And it's heavy, so he's wounding on. So he's got his strength die becomes 2s when he uses it in close combat, and overwhelming means that opponents are difficult. I think they're -1 to their block rolls, so it's harder for them to stop incoming attacks because he's just so radical. Probably. He also has a shooting attack. He's forsaken the batarangs for devastating riff, which is a double stun, 2-shot expansive attack. So it uses that like teardrop flamer type of template. It's mechanical, so he's cranking out a riff. It's a sonic attack, which means that enemies hit by it have -1 on their special stat for the rest of the turn, and it's devastating as well. So if he does fail his it gets 2 strength dice instead of 1. So you put out the template, and anyone under it takes 2 potential hits instead of just the 1. And yeah, so potential bit of stun there. It's not going to worry anyone particularly tough or strong or anything who's got more than, say, 4 points of endurance, willpower. But across a group of henchmen, if you can gather them up, not as potentially a lot of damage. So there you go. And it's just fun to have. Right, let's go into his traits. So he's got his standard bat armor. You know, so also take off the strength die for anything coming his way. Charismatic, which I think is more just to do with a bit of fluff really, rather than really good for crew building, because charismatic lets you take an additional free agent, but this guy's already expensive enough, so maybe you've got enough free agents already, but it's nice to have the option. Detective is standard Batman stuff, and really still really bloody useful skill, being able to manipulate objectives from or put down suspects from 3 inches away is it's worth its weight in gold. Really is a standout skill for the Bat crew. Dirty Fighter is cool. It allows you to use your shooting attack in close combat, so you never get he might be able to do that devastating rift to good effect even if people try and lock him down. Reinforced gloves, just in case. I mean, why wouldn't he have them? We've seen that all the Batman have these. One of the boys is an interesting one. It means he can inspire himself. He counts as if he counts as a henchman, and therefore as the leader or boss of the crew, which he's going to be, he can inspire himself because he's always going to be in his own inspiration range, thus solving one of the bigger problems of free agents and leaders, etc., is that you can't be inspired, therefore they might miss out on some actions and activations. But this Batman can get an extra manipulator turn, which is that's solid. Shockwave is a special action, means nearby enemies suffer slow too, potentially fun. Undead means he can't be affected by many of the status effects, so no hypnotizing or poisoning this Batman, so no nasty tricks on him. Power supply, legendary solo, and changing the tempo I'll go into in a moment. I actually got them printed out here, but I'm going to actually say, interestingly, things which are missing from this version of Batman is obviously the Batclaw and the Batcape, of course, but the Batclaw is an interesting one because that every now and again bonus of speed, which most and crucially ignores terrain, is a bit of a hallmark and a crutch maybe for most of the Batmen you find. Interesting to see it missing on this guy. I mean, obviously he doesn't look like he's going to be backclawing anyway, so that's fine. So this is a much more grounded version of Bruce Wayne. He's going to be standing, in amongst the rest of your crew, so he's actually more of a leader, an inspirational bonus, as we'll see in a moment as well, than other versions of Batman who tend to just power off and relieve the police to deal with radios and things. This guy can actually stand in the middle of a crew and actually inspire it and lead them, as opposed to the other Batman. So quite an interesting little variation as it is. So you could swap this guy in and out for your existing Batman and your Batman crew just to do something completely different. But let's get on to those last traits. Ignore the teeth marks, kittens, eh? Right, so you've got power supply here, which is this one. Basically, it starts with 3 power tokens, and in an activation, not necessarily his, one of these tokens can be used. The writing's way too small, incidentally. It can be used to give him, in his activation, you can use it to give a +4 movement marker, sort of mitigating the problem of the Batclaw being there or not. You can use him during his attack, which means to make opponents need 2 successful blocks to cancel each hit of his. So those 2 ones so far, you'll be using one of those in his turn, and in an opponent's turn, which is most likely an opponent's turn, when you're receiving damage, you can ignore up to 2 of the damaged markers. So you can use one of these 3 power tokens in a given activation. But also, in addition, this model can manipulate a street lamp marker to gain 2 more power counters. And as you remember, he's one of the boys, so he got lots of manipulate actions. So certainly not. It's not something which is just thrown in for fun. It's actually something that could happen quite easily. And being able to reduce damage is awesome in this game, and especially since he's got the bat armor already, and being able to basically getting the +4 movement marker, all that. This gives this Batman a lot more flexibility than some of his friends, and making it so opponents can't block him as well, even though they struggle already. Some of the tougher enemies who might be able to just put up enough of a fight, they will find it difficult to get to stop the avalanche of stun damage this guy's coming in. Then they can be arrested by the follow-up cops. Nice. Legendary solo is funky. Friendly models within this model's inspire range gain 1 free effort. That's damn good. Don't remember, see, it's not henchmen. That's friendly models within this model's inspire range, and this will include him. So yes, free efforts across your crew, excellent for close combat. And enemy models, even better, within this model's inspire range must make an effort, that's take a stun damage, or cannot benefit from the inspire trait. So if you're going up against one of those crews which has hordes of cheap henchmen who are very low willpower, you're forcing them to take stun damage just to do inspire, which is generally what the opponents factored into their battle plan already. So nasty. Nasty, yeah. And it's even worse when you can choose one of the following. The model's Inspire range is increased by 4 inches, so it takes him when you change the tempo with a special action, you start that going, it lasts until the trait is used again. You put this guy's Inspire range up to 12 inches from 8 inches, that more than doubles the area of the Inspire range if you know your maths. And yeah, 12-inch Inspire range is godlike anyway, but when it's actually also giving you free efforts and making your opponent have to pay effort just to be inspired, that's pretty grotesque. Again, that ties into this Batman really being more of a leader, or more having more sort of crew buff abilities, gameplay buffing abilities than some of his alter egos who just sort of swoop around and punch people and do detective work. Then you've got also, or alternatively, if you want to change it, friendly models within this Inspire range gain 1 free effort. So I'm guessing that means you can get potentially 2 free efforts on friendly models as well. So depending on the situation, you can sort of effort. You can give yourself loads of free efforts, or not. Or just go for a big old Inspire range. I guess it depends on how clustered you are or how your opponent is. So there you go. So overall, yeah, this is a solid addition to the Batman pantheon, shall we say. There's an awful lot of Batman models, but do you need him? Will you be missing out on anything amazing if you couldn't get him for Black Friday? I'd say not really. A Batman is a Batman, and they all generally have the stats to be able to punch people and take damage and whatnot, and avoid things and lead your crew accordingly. But this gives you some fun alternatives to your usual fare, and that's what you want in a limited edition sort of Black Friday sort of model, and I look forward to getting him painted. Right, well, let's move on, see who's next. Well, here he is. It's a new Black Friday and therefore a new Bane model, it seems. It's how it feels. I still got Bane the Bat to finish painting up and everything, but here we are with another. This is Bane Unleashed. This is Bane, I believe, well, certainly looks that way, from the original Nightfall series arc where he was introduced as a character. This is pretty much, I'm going to tell you in advance, this is pretty much peak Bane in terms of his power level and, shall we say, his influence on the story, because supervillains are always most powerful in their first incarnation, aren't they? Then afterwards they sort of become also rans. Although Rebirth Bane really did a good number on Batman too, but hey, shush. Right, this model, gorgeous, love it. It's actually, you could argue it's actually just another Batman model, of course, on a scenic Bane base, but yeah, this is, I think Bane's definitely the main event as far as I'm concerned here, as he's in his famous pose of just about to break the Batman over his knee. Coolio. But here he is. Let's see if we can get a decent picture. Yeah, great model. There's a surprising number of parts, but they all slotted together really well. As you can see, I can't see any green stuff myself. I don't think there is any. Yeah, it's awesome. There's some good points of contact as well, so I'm pretty confident about this guy going forwards. It's in, of course, the newer resin, so these bats here, they won't be pinging off anytime soon. They're very sturdy and quite flexible, so I'm quite confident in their strength and ability to hold up. Yeah, it's a gorgeous model. Nice base. Come on. Yes. There we are. And just turn him this way now. I mean, obviously, judge it upon your own, your own stats or your own its own merit according to how you want it to be. But I think this guy's great. You can see the veins pumping on his arms and all the venom tubes there into the back of the head and the old school style from original Bane. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with this model at all. I think some people have taken the Batman off and modelled rocks and other things on there, but I'm quite happy to have a Batman there. I just have it as it is from the comic book panel. Yeah, I think this is what this is based on, and yeah, no problem with that at all. He is Bane Unleashed after all, but he actually has stats as well, so let's have a look at them. So yeah, this is I'm also peak Bane, so let's see what he can do. Bane Unleashed, because Rebirth Bane, the existing big Bane, shall we say, is quite a powerhouse himself in terms of offensive capabilities, but let's see how they differ. So he's a leader for the Soldiers of Fortune crew, of course, no change there. 161 reps, so very similar again in terms of the points cost. costs. So the stats are humongously baney, so 9 willpower and 14 endurance. I'll do a little spoiler there, he is desensitized as well, so of course, so you can't just knock him out with that willpower. You actually then have to start eating into the huge endurance as well, which is easier said than done, as we'll get to. His stats, this is obviously, well, he's unleashed, so he's proper in fury mode at the moment. So his attack 6 and defense 2. Defense 2, I saw that, I was like, oh no, not again. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, we'll see in a moment why this isn't such a big deal. But it's yeah, it's quite scary at first, certainly. Only having defense 2 is pitiful, really. But we'll see. It's strength 3+, but of course he's going to be on Venom a lot, so that'll be going to 2+. Movement 10, special 3. So yeah, very standard Bane style stats as we've seen before. He actually has a weapon now, as opposed to having reinforced gloves. He has his unleashed strength for 2 stun damage as a weapon now, which means he actually gets handy and bleed 2. So bleed means if he causes a critical hit, he does 2 points of blood damage in addition to anything else. Handy is the one that stands out here. It basically means he's re-rolling misses, which is amazing because he's got so many attacks which are almost impossible to block anyway. And handy means he's re-rolling misses. So you're not having that chance of that just the one dice roll whiff. You get that re-roll. So that's a lovely comforter there. So yeah, that's something that the original Bane doesn't usually always get either. He has to take a special rule for that as well. So he's desensitized. He is huge, so ignoring 2 stun damage per attack coming in. For veteran to tie him in with the rest of the Soldiers of Fortune crew, very useful for their scoring card deck. 4 venom doses, so 1 per turn of the game, so just always activate 1 whenever he goes for it. And venom enrage means that when he does, not only does he gain the 2 free efforts and the +1 strength, but also up here, I'll put it out here for my knowledge, when he uses venom dose, the first 2 damage markers received by his model during each round are ignored, and that's in addition to any ignored for huge. So if you're only doing stun damage, you have to be really thumping it out to just get any impression on this guy at all. You are not beating this guy in a fist fight, really. Grudge match will come to, like flies to me, will come to, well, actually, we'll come to all of them. But again, we'll look at what's not on the Bane, on Rebirth Bane, because Rebirth Bane actually has some rules which I like, which aren't on here, and it sort of tells a difference. I mean, Cool Under Fire is actually an underused trait, in my opinion, because he can start taking status effects off of his crew, which is a good leadership ability. He doesn't, I think he also has a strategist one, so he gets +1 to the initiative roll. That's not present here. And also I Will Break You is a really useful utility rule, which again is not on this model. This is not your leading the troops sort of Bane. This is your early I'm gonna fuck you up, basically. This guy is out to break this is at the point where he was juiced up for his final showdown with Batman and managed to do so. He wasn't thinking strategically at this point, and it does show in these stats. So Grudge Match is a special action. It's his only one, so he can do it. And let's see, when this model declares an attack action, you may choose that no efforts may be made. That's potentially great because his stats will almost certainly be better than anyone he is attacking. So there you are. So if you want to do no efforts at all, of course I think that means he doesn't actually get his freebies for Venom, but he probably, again, if he doesn't need them, then no point letting the opponent effort to reduce your attack pool. Like Flies to me is the one that stands out and mitigates the 2 on his defense. This is an always on thing, always on rule, so it's not like he has to activate it or anything. So when this model is a target attack action, the attacker must treat this model's defense value as equal to the attacker's strength value. So Weenie Henchman with, say, a strength of 5+, will not be hitting this Bane on 2s like the defense value it will be. They'll be hitting him with their attack dice on 5s, for example, if there's a 5+ strength value, or 4s if they're relatively strong type. So basically this Bane will not be being carved up so easily by crappy henchmen with chainsaws or anything. It also counts for shooting attacks as well. So this version of Bane is just powering through incoming attacks and things. He's so roided up on Venom, he doesn't even feel it coming, or he's so fast that they can't draw a bead on him or something like that. Like I said, this is peak Bane, and he's peak comic book Bane, where he is just being missed by everyone, shall we say. And yeah, so all of a sudden models with a 3+ or something, or 2+ on their strength are going to be his targets most likely. So he's not going to be avoiding them either way anyway. So this guy has the damage to beat down the enemy's powerhouse and then ignore attacks coming in from their weenie hitters. So like flies to me as the great equalizer, and gives this version of Bane the longevity which you probably say is lacked by the kind of squishy other Bane, who only has defense 3 and not an awful lot else to give him defenses. So there you go. That's why this guy's so cool. And breaking the bat is awesome, is fun, not likely to come up all that often, but when targeting a new boss and this model crits on a 3+, that's useful. After resolving the attack action but before removing the target, place the target boss 4 inches. So basically you can pick up and throw the opposing boss 4 inches, and you can remove enemy suspect markers. You can remove suspect markers for doing so as well. So yeah, a bit of fun. You can smash up your opponent's boss and toss them around the arena, like Bane did in the Batcave in the original story. And then you've got finally accelerated venom, which is another awesome ability. This model spends a venom dose, which he will be every turn. So every turn, effectively, he can, instead of the normal effects, remember grudge match, so he might not be getting those efforts anyway. So instead of using the efforts and +1 strength, he may instead choose one of the following. He can basically move enemies, models that he contacts during his movement 2 inches, which could be potentially fun, useful. Again, situational, but you could get some funkiness out of it, in certain situations. Or another one you can do is basically all the stun damage that this model deals, this activation, which is going to be considerable, is converted to blood damage instead as he starts twisting heads off and things. So yeah, being able to do have all these attacks hitting with rerolls and being really difficult to block, and then doing double blood damage. Ugh, that's insanely powerful. This guy is actually just crushing heads, and all day long. But he is your boss figure. Obviously, he's your leader rank model in your Soldiers of Fortune. He is very unsubtle, and he isn't doing a lot to give you much more in terms of what your crew can do. He can't dish out. He can't distribute venom doses. He doesn't have strategist, I think is what it is, or is it exhaustive planner? One or the other. He doesn't have that. He doesn't give you bonuses on the take the lead roll, but you point him at your opponent and he will wreck them, and they will have a lot harder job dealing with this version of Bane than any other in the range so far. So there you go. Again, another exclusive for Black Friday. Are you missing out if you don't get him? I mean, really, he's only for Soldiers of Fortune, so he's one crew, so the damage done is limited anyway. And really, I don't think you really are. You could use this model's rules, which are available on the app, as just with any other Bane model anyway, if you felt so inclined. But also, yeah, it's just another version of Bane, and you can easily get away without using him. I mean, many people wouldn't want to pay the 161 point rep cost anyway. So there you go. It's just an option you've got, and not one you have to cry about if you don't get it. This range is extremely expensive if you're a completionist anyway, so it's very unlikely that anyone will have every model. So that whole fear of missing out thing, I just don't think it applies. So I think this one was a worthy choice to do. Okay, well, let's see that last model today. Yes, Alfred Pennyworth, the third version of this model, I think, to come out in these rules. And standard Alfred Pennyworth pose. And this is the special spend over a certain amount on Black Friday and get a freebie model version of the iteration this year. And I do like him a lot. I'll tell you now, this is an Intel support model, which means that he is not actually present on the game board in physical form. This is a model you put around to show the model's focus of attention, like Oracle, and he manipulates and messes around with suspect markers, but he doesn't actually he can't be targeted by anything because he's not really there. He's sort of accessing via the Batcave and helping out in Batman's earpiece and things like that. And so here he is, and it's a gorgeous model. It's a single piece, came in a baggie, and you just glue him into the base, and as such, no seam lines or anything. It was a very easy model to clean up, and I love it. Really do like it. This is actually says this is Alfred Pennyworth Rebirth, I think. Maybe, I don't know. Just Alfred Pennyworth. This is just the Alfred model, and I do like it a lot. And here's his rules. So like I said, he is intel support in the traits down here, which means he's sort of a ghost on the board. Interestingly enough, again, cats. He's a henchman, but he doesn't have an affiliation or a rivalry, so you can't just normally pick him out for his 40 rep and pop him in anywhere. He's actually affinity Bruce Wayne, so you have to include a Bruce Wayne, so a Batman probably, almost certainly a Batman, in order to be able to field Alfred Pennyworth at all. So he's very, you're not going to fit him in everywhere. Even all the Batman crews don't take a Batman. So yeah, so his willpower and endurance are only 4. His stats are very pedestrian sort of henchman, but like I said, that's not what he's not here to fight or do anything. Oopsie, he's got the same informatic assault that Oracle does with steel, which can potentially be really annoying, but if you're putting this guy into combat, you're not getting the best use out of your other models. That's a certainty anyway, let alone with this guy. So yeah, there you are. He's got all that, but for 40 points, what do you want? All the points are going into this list of traits, so let's have a look at it, shall we? So affinity Bruce Wayne, Batcave support we'll come to. That's his special Alfred exclusive. Business agent there gives you a bunch more funding, so if you're running a lot of guns, cop heavy, lots of guns, or want that funding for extra equipment items, you can take this guy, and it's a cheap 40 rep for a bunch more funding. It's quite useful. Informer gives you an additional pass, so that can help you on the board a lot to see what opponents are doing early doors. Intel support is what we've already established, so you can't actually be attacking this guy. He's just going to take damage as the opponents reveal your suspect markers, so yeah, watch out for that. But you can bring him back by spending audacity later on in the game. He has a radio, so he can still put down suspect markers even though he's miles away from Bruce Wayne, and yeah, so he's always inspired, so you can just use him to pop down suspect markers, which is damn useful. Extra radios is always good. And veteran, of course, because Alfred's been around a lot, and that'll tie in with a bunch of the cards in the Batman scoring deck as well. So a lot of them require detective trait and things, and veteran will cover that nicely. So yeah, just going on to Batcave support. So if you did give this version of Alfred say audacity token and you wanted to use that special action, then what it does, I've got it over here, it's a special action. Remove up to 3 friendly suspects within 4 inches, and then a friendly model within 8 inches and line of sight without the cop trait, so say Nightwing or Batman or whatever, and that model gains a bunch, depending upon how many of your suspects you picked up, of attack or defense markers, where it gets better more suspects you take off, but you always get 1 by the look of it, X plus 1 there. So yeah, that's pretty badass. Giving Nightwing or Batman or whoever a whole bunch more attacks, counters that just goes from that's going from stun to kill. That's where you can start really gathering up multiple henchmen at the same time kind of situation, or just becoming incredibly difficult to kill. Love it. It's useful. I mean, it's not something you're necessarily going to be wanting to pick up too many of your suspects too. Sometimes they're quite hard to come by in a Batman crew, but certainly, I mean, getting that +1 is easy enough, and for a special action on a model which might be one of your only ones you've got on the board or something, that's bloody good, I think. Yeah, this version of Alfred, I like he. Will I be using him? Well, I'll have to wait and see when I get him painted up. Probably. In crews with Batman, I think this is a good one to take. I do like the character Alfred a lot, so there we are. And again, it's actually interesting to have a cheap model with Intel support on it, because I think Oracle is the only other one who's cheap, and she's 50 points. Who else has got it? Court of Owls has it, but they're a leader and kind of weird because they don't move normally. And Riddler, who I haven't had a chance to use yet at all because I can't play with him one player, not really. But yeah, I really like this figure. I'm glad I got him. Obviously, again, he's not going to be game winning or anything like that. I don't think many tournament lists are going to really factor him into the game winning strategy or anything. It's just he's nice to have as an option, and so therefore I don't think anyone's going to be missing out if they don't have an Alfred. And there are, I'm sure there'll be other Alfreds available in the future. He seems to be the guy they go to when they need to do an exclusive to accompany a rulebook or something, So there you go. Okay, well, that's the 3 Black Friday release models I got hold of this time around, and I hope you enjoyed this little review of them all. I quite enjoy doing these little videos and just seeing about what the rules are like and stuff. And yes, there'll be more battle reports and game reports, shall I say, to come in the future. I've got to get the freeze crew done and out on the board, and yeah, we'll definitely see them shortly. Okay. Anyway, I'm Shieldwall100. I hope you enjoyed this quick video, and I'll see you in the future. All right. You take care, guys. Bye.